Hare Krishna, Hare devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is from Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 6. And moving right along, without any further ado, we'll start the class. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privajikacharya Stotra Satashishi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privajikacharya Stotra Satashishi Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavind Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Charge Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadha Siva Shari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय सामवेद भक्तवृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory to the Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sutapani Shri Gaura Karma Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namine Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udidayat Nasya Prayeswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sivaya Bhagavata Uttamastuki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 6. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharma Parinishtayam Janma Labha Parapumsham Ante Narayana Smiti Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharma Parinishtayam Janma Labha Parapumsham Ante Narayana Smriti Etavan Sankhya Yogabhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Janma Labha Parapunsham Ante Narayana Smriti. Hare Krishna. If you feel inclined to chant, please unmute yourself and do so. Hare Krishna.
एतवान् साङ्ख्यया योगिभ्यां स्वधर्मपरिनिष्ठया जन्मलाभः परापुंसाम् अन्ते नारायणस्मृतिः. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
एतावाना साङ्ख्ययोगायं स्वधर्मपरनिष्ठया जन्मलाभपरपूसामान्ते नारायण स्मृति. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
Etavan Sankhya Yoga Payam Swadharma Paranistaya Janma Labha Para Pumsama Ante Narayana Smirtiya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Anyone else?
एतावान् साङ्ख्ययोगाभ्यां स्वधर्मः परिनिष्ठया जन्मलाभः परपुंसाम् अन्ते नारायण स्मृतिः.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Jai. Anyone else? All right, word for word. Etavan, all these. Sankhya, complete knowledge of matter and spirit. Yogabhyam, knowledge of mystic power. Swadharma, particular occupational duty. Parinishtaya, by full perception. Janma, birth. Labha, gain. Hara, the supreme. Punsham, of a person. Ante, at the end. Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Smriti, remembrance. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Narayana is the transcendental personality of Godhead beyond the material creation. Everything that's created, sustained, and at the end annihilated is within the compass of the Mahatattva, material principle, and is known as the material world. The existence of Narayan, or the personality of Godhead, is not within the jurisdiction of this Mahatattva. And as such, the name, form, attributes, etc. of Narayan are beyond the jurisdiction of the material world. By the speculation of empiric philosophy, which discerns matter from spirit, or by cultivation of mystic powers, which ultimately helps the performer to reach any planet of the universe or beyond the universe, or by discharge of religious duties, one can achieve the highest perfection, provided one is able to reach the stage of Narayana Smriti, or constant remembrance of the personality of Godhead. This is possible only by the association of a pure devotee who can give a finishing touch to the transcendental activities of all jnanis, yogis, or karmis in terms of prescribed duties defined in the scriptures. There are many historical instances of the achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of the Sanakadi rishis, or the 9 celebrated Yogendras, who attain perfection only after being situated in the devotional service of the Lord. None of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the Gyanis or Yogis. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity, and it is indicated herein that such perfection is Narayan Smriti, for which everyone must endeavor his best. In other words, life should be molded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. Oma Gina Tibidandasya, Yana Gina Shalakaya, Chakshum Militam Yena Tasma Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutane, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Panaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutane, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarani. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhara Shiva Shari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. The English translation again. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Hare Krishna. So, this is a very important statement and a reminder to all of us. The human body that we have is the one with the type of intelligence which we can discern things. The only other groups with that are demigods and demons. Now, demons don't want to use their intelligence to do something favorable for discharge of devotional service to Krishna. And that leaves ordinary human beings, we, and the demigods. Any other type of species does not have that intelligence. So we have to use our intelligence to get to the highest perfection of life. We are in human bodies, so we're called human beings, as you well know. So for us, so we won't talk about demigods or for that matter, demons, but the highest perfection of our lives, whatever we do, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. I had inquired about this earlier in some late 90s. This whole idea of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of one's life. And I was told by my spiritual master that what is more prevalent while we're living our lives, what's more prevalent in our minds are most likely what we remember at the end of our life. On our deathbed, that's what we're most likely going to remember. Therefore, if we want to remember Krishna, which is the best thing for us, then we have to remember Krishna during our lifetime many, many times. And in fact, many, many times is an understatement because Srila Rupa Goswami has said, it's not many, many times. It's always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Always. You always have to remember the Lord. And so the easy way for remembering the Lord has been given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He inaugurated the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When we chant Hare Krishna, we remember Krishna, we remember the energy of Krishna. We also request that Krishna allow us to perform devotional service to the divine couple, Radha Krishna. And the whole purpose of that is to jumpstart our love for the Lord. It's always been there, but it's covered up. So in the heart, we have to get that whole love restarted, because we have just covered it with so many material things and loving things that don't really help us get out of this jail. Mm-hmm. So the highest perfection of human life, whichever way we achieve it, by Sankhya knowledge, Sankhya philosophy, which is knowledge of matter and spirit. That's explained in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Kapila, talking to his mother Devahuti, described that the complete knowledge of matter and spirit, especially things that are very, very important in our spiritual life, is explained nicely by Lord Kapila. And the whole idea of Sankhya philosophy, knowledge of matter and spirit, he's done it in such a way, the Lord has done it, Lord Kapila, discussed it in such a way that with our intelligence, we would choose to live a spiritual life and deal with material life only as is necessary. The spiritual life will be regarded as important. And that comes out very clearly in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are some yogis that they just like to, they're mystics, they practice mystic powers, and mystic powers can allow somebody to do all kinds of things that defy gravity here. Or we do our occupational duty, swadharma, but we do it with the idea of directly using it to serve or indirectly using it to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. So in doing this, we come to the perfection of human life by remembering the personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada said in the purport, Narayan is the transcendental personality of Godhead. Every in this material world, every universe is Narayan. Sorry, not material world. In the spiritual world, every spiritual planet has a Narayan. Narayan is worshipped like that. He is worshipped like that. In the material world, every universe has a Lord Brahma. But in the spiritual world, every planet has Lord Narayan. Then the Goloka Vrindavan, that's Krishna's own personal abode. So everything that is created and sustained and annihilated, that's within the material principle, the material world, the Mahatattva. And Srila Prabhupada has made the point, and we need to understand that it's also in Bhagavad Gita, in Janma Karma Chamedivyam, but in one way he's described it here too. The existence of Narayan, Lord Narayan is spiritual, so his jurisdiction, his name, form, attributes, they are beyond what the material world is about, the Mahatattva. So whatever we do, and this is where he makes the point, speculation from empiric philosophy, discerning matter from spirit, whatever ideas people come up, or cultivation of mystic powers, learning that. And mystic powers is not set or given to or reserved for certain people. Anyone can learn mystic powers, but you have to go to the proper teacher. And as Radha Maharaj is describing, he says, the 8 mystic powers are there, but each one takes about 12 years to learn, if you want to do that. But it's easier to chant the holy name and serve the devotees and serve Guru and serve the deity than go get mystic powers. But Srila Prabhupada is making a point about this. Mystic powers may help the performer to reach any planet. They can travel in different universes, beyond the universe, this particular universe. Whatever we do, one can achieve the highest perfection if we remember constantly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But who will tell us about the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The pure devotee of the Lord. So association with the pure devotee is very, very important. We may be doing whatever we've been doing in the material world based on these three categories that's been described here. Be a jnani or yogi or work with the material energy. But when we come in contact with the pure devotee whose business is 100% Krishna consciousness, then the mind of a person who is in this activities described earlier can be turned fully to Krishna. Gradually can be turned to Krishna, and it gets to a point where they are fully convinced that Krishna consciousness is the best thing. And that way, then we remember Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gives historical instances of personalities that achieved spiritual perfection. He talks about the Sanakadi rishis. Actually, they are the four Kumaras. Sometimes they're called like that. Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumara. They have a Sampradaya themselves, the Kumara Sampradaya. So that's there. Or the 9 out of the 100 sons of Maharaj Rishabhadev. They are called the Yogendras. They were also in impersonal realm of thinking. But again, coming around pure devotees, or in instances where they actually saw the Lord, in case of the four Kumaras, because they went to Vaikuntha, they saw Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu. Their minds changed. Changed into bhakti rather than impersonalism and so on. It changed to bhakti. And in many of our lives, all of us, we have our own stories about how we came to bhakti. Some of our stories are similar. Some in different religions had questions that the religions could not answer. These were legitimate questions, but the religions didn't have any answer for. And it goes on to this day. But Krishna consciousness had all the answers and more. And therefore, the decision had to be made. Why not? Switch, come to Krishna consciousness because you gain more. And then we find out that, it's not just the heavenly planets. That's the highest to get to. There's a whole spiritual world. Again, Krishna consciousness explained that wonderfully. The 9 Yogendras are Maharaj Rishabhadev's children. He had 100 sons, and 9 of them, their names are Kavi, Antariksha, Prabhuda, Pipalayan, Abhihotra, Drumila, Chamas, and Karavajan. Karavajan they all said wonderful things in 11th canto, answering questions about Krishna consciousness. And it's described so nicely in the beginning stages of 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So when people come to Krishna consciousness, then they realize they are in touch with the highest and best understanding of material and spiritual life. And make a good choice then. They make a good choice, the choice of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, serving the devotees, and slowly changing one's lifestyle into the karmi, from the karmi type into the devotee type. That means there's some things that have to be dropped, and sometimes even relationships. Some relationships have to be done away with because the person that's relating is relating only at the material level and being a person who is not encouraging the spiritual level to come through. They're not interested, and they don't want the so-called friend that's become a devotee to take spiritual life seriously. Then in that situation, that person will have to go. And we're talking about this because it is happening in so many people's lives, including my own. People that we were relating to, good friends, but it was at the material level. And when we changed our lives to adjust to spiritual consciousness and spiritual lifestyle, they were not with us on it. Sometimes they even criticized. Or other times they said, well, I mean, I'm not going to live like that. Mm. Now, we have to make the decision. What's more important for us? To stay in this jail or take Krishna consciousness seriously and go back? Mm. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada says, life should be molded in such a way that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. Mm. So, in remembering the personality of Godhead, we have to remember his position. He is a supreme. No one is at that level. He's second to none. No one is equal to him. We have to remember his instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and the rest that's given by incarnations of the Lord and also pure devotees of the Lord who are pure servants of him. What they say about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's listed in Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we also have to remember the Lord's pastimes. And that wonderful thing about the Lord's pastime is that as we, hearing or reading about them, you have to understand that the Lord actually wants us to be part of it. If we will take this process of bhakti yoga seriously and go back to the spiritual world, when we go back to the spiritual world, we automatically become part of Krishna's pastimes. We may not have ours written in the books, but Krishna has a special relationship with every single entity in the spiritual world. There may be different classes of servant, and sometimes some devotees play the role of parents, sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're conjugal lovers. But that said, those are the main classes, especially we're talking about Goloka Vrindavan. When that happens, there are different relationships called the rasas. But everyone has their own special relationship with the Lord too, within these categories. So the Lord is that personal.
Hey, let me know when you're done with the coffee and I'll make mine. Sure. Sure.
Mataji, Deb, can you mute, please?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, so anyway, everybody has their own relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the different activities in the 10th canto, the pastimes of the Lord, like taking butter from the elderly gopis, going to the houses and taking it. And I know specifically they say the pastime of stealing butter. The gopis actually want Krishna to come take the butter. But this Krishna makes an interesting whole spectacle out of it by, sneaking in and taking the butter. So in the real understanding of it, this is just for fun. But Krishna owns everything. So actually, even if he's quote unquote stealing butter, then he's literally stealing from himself. He owns everything. But only because the elderly gopis enjoy this kind of, pranks that Krishna pulls. So then Krishna, in order for them to think about him more and love him more, and also relate to him in an interesting way, then he just goes by taking the butter in this style of literally stealing the butter. Or enjoying life with his cowherd boyfriends. Sometimes when they play, while the cows, when he was young, when the cows are, eating the grass and so on, and then they play among themselves, and the time comes, it's lunchtime, and they would have their lunch. But sometimes one person takes a lunch box, belonging to another person, and hides it. Where's my, where's my lunch? Where's my lunch? We can't find it. And sometimes it comes out, but then rather than give it to the cowherd boy, they decide to toss it. They toss they toss the lunch from one person to another, one person to another, and it takes a while before they finally give the lunchbox to the person, the cowherd boy. And then when they all open their lunches, they look, oh, you got this, your mom gave you this, but then they start sharing. They start sharing. You look at what Mother Yashoda is giving Krishna, and then we take some of that and they give some of what their mothers gave them to Krishna. Hmm? Sometimes even they bite a part of a fruit or something, and then they just turn around and say, Krishna, this tastes so nice. They've already bitten part of it, and they give it to Krishna. And Krishna will eat it. Hmm? So Krishna will come to the level of any relationship with any of his pure devotees in order to exchange love with them. Hmm? They are all auspicious spiritual activities, including the rasa dance. Hmm? But in the rasa dance, sometimes the songs is explained in Garga Samhita. The songs are new. Practically, we say new means that in the evening the gopis just make up new songs, and they come and they sing it and they dance to Krishna. And sometimes some of the songs lyrics are about what happened in the day and some of the pranks that Krishna pulled. They make a song out of that. And Krishna would dance with them, hearing the lyrics of the song, the words, and then he would respond to it in a song form. So they're going back and forth. Basically, there's a transcendental debate going on, but it's part of the songs, and then they're dancing to it. This is all described in Gaga Sarita. It is actually quite funny, transcendentally funny, the way they go about it. And in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, these are there. And then there are many authorized songs and prayers that glorify the pastimes of the Lord. By the way, the Krishna Lila and Gora Lila is known as Govinda Maharaj has described, that they are the same because Krishna is one and the same personality. Those who are in the Krishna Lila also took bodies and came to the Gora Lila. So they're there. Swarup Damada, Ravananda Raya, Lalita and Vishaka. And this list goes on. Many, many, many those who were in the Krishna Lila also came in Kali Yuga in the Gora Lila. So when the pure devotees of the Lord sing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it helps us when we learn those songs to remember the Lord. And there are many, many, many of them sang by Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Narottam Das Thakur's song, one popular song, it's called Goranga Bolite Habe. Goranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Sharir. Hari Hari Bolite Nayane Habe Nir. Goranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Sharir. Hari Hari Bolite Na Yane Babeni. When will that opportune moment come to us? When there will be the shivering of a body as soon as we chant Lord Guranga's name. While chanting Hare Krishna, when will there be tears in the eyes? That's the translation for this first one. Arkabe Tai-chan Karuna Hoibe Shamsarabasana Mo Kabe Tujja Habe. When will I obtain the mercy of Lord Nityananda? Lord Nityananda Chandra, moonlight face Lord Nityananda. When by his mercy will the desire for material enjoyment become very insignificant? See, Narottam Das Thakur is talking here about how important it is to minimize material enjoyment and shut it off altogether. Definitely get to the point where material enjoyment is insignificant. So it's very, very wonderful. Dishaya Chaya Kabe Shudabe Ma Kabe Hama Hey Boshri Vrindavana. You heard Vrindavan in the end, right? So it's talking about Vrindavan. When the mind is completely purified, being freed from material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. And then my spiritual life will be successful. So, wonderful song like that. When my mind is completely purified. How does purification come? The very thing that this particular text is talking about, remembering Krishna. Om apavita pavitova savavastam gatopiva yasmaret pundarakaksham still talks about the same thing. Whatever state that we're in, we will become become purified within and without, just by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So remembrance of him is very important. And the easiest way is chanting the holy name. Now, in the book called Much Less Gift, Srila Prabhupada wrote that, chapter 7. So there's Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, and then Smaranam, which is the one we're talking about, remembering. The more one chants the name of Krishna, the more he becomes attached to Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada is explaining Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing about chanting, hearing about Krishna and chanting about Krishna, that's the beginning. And he says the next process is Smaranam, always remembering Krishna. And when one is perfect in chanting and hearing, he will always remember Krishna. When we hear with attention and we hear regularly, we hear with attention and hearing regularly. That's for hearing. Chanting, chant with attention, pronouncing the words clearly, and also chanting in a prayerful mood. This is all advice from Srila Prabhupada. If we do that chanting, then we will always remember Krishna. In this third stage, this remembrance, we become the greatest yogi, according to how Srila Prabhupada defines this. In the other small book he wrote, Dharma, the Way of Transcendence, in chapter 2, Srila Prabhupada talks about remembrance of God. He says, remembering Krishna is also seeing him. Spiritual seeing is not done simply with the eyes. Why? Well, Krishna is absolute. So we can see him by chanting his name or even describing him. Like Prahlad Maharaj says to do Shravanam Kirtan, Vishnu Smaranam, Parasevanam, and on to Atma Nivedana. So when we hear of Krishna, we are seeing Krishna because Krishna is absolute. There's no difference between hearing and seeing him. When you hear, you picture Krishna's, the picture of Krishna comes in your mind. You see the deity, you chant about Krishna, you're thinking about Krishna. Again, the mind is picturing Krishna. So when you chant about Krishna, Sri Prabhupada says, you're seeing Krishna. When you're thinking of Krishna, you're seeing Krishna. And that's the process for seeing God. If you hear about Krishna, if you chant about Krishna, if you think about Krishna, and you worship Krishna and render service to Krishna, and you offer everything to Krishna, you will always see Krishna 24 hours a day. And that's what Prabhupada defines as Bhakti Yoga. This is a process that we should be about. Now, in this another small book, Beyond Illusion and Doubt, in chapter 3, again, Srila Prabhupada is talking about Krishna consciousness means not only remembering Krishna, but acting for him. So when we sweep Krishna's temple, we will remember Krishna. When we cook for Krishna, we will remember Krishna. When we talk about Krishna, we will remember Krishna. So that is the process that Krishna himself recommends in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 47. Yoginam api sarvesham madagatana atmana sharavan bhajate yomam same yukta mata. Of all the yogis, one who with great faith, who always abides with me, thinks of me within himself, renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the utmost. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga. and it's the highest of all. So the one who, with great faith, abides in me, thinks of me within himself, renders transcendental loving service to me. And for us, that means serving the Lord without expecting any pay, like we do work regularly. No, we just give of our hearts. So he's the most intimately united with me. So the conclusion is, whatever ability that we have, it is always best to use that ability to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever ability. Krishna says, I'm the ability in man. Well, give us his ability. He is the ability. We should use it to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like we do when we go to the holy places and we are in the Ganga River, for example, we take the Ganga River. We want to respect the Lord, the sacred river, but we take some of the river and offer back to the river. So in the same way, Krishna is giving us the ability, we should offer the ability back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by serving with our talents, serving with our professions, serving with our hobbies, serving with our finances, and even our future plans, they all should involve Krishna. Then that way we will always remember Krishna. And finally, he's given the promise that those who remember him will be able to join him at the time of death after leaving this body, will be able to join him. And it is, in fact, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's company that is the most wonderful and the happiest that anyone can ever get. And that's what we really want. But we're looking at different places. It is all about connecting with Krishna. So we should use our talents, our professions, our hobbies, even finances, and our future plans should all be in such a way that we will remember Krishna and serve Krishna. Then we'll go to Krishna after leaving this body. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll stop here. And if you want to, make a comment or ask a question or share a realization that connects with this or whatever you want to talk about involving Krishna, the sages have said if you ask any question about Krishna, it's wonderful because it makes us talk about the Lord. Please unmute yourself and join in the wonderful Krishna Katha that can happen from this. Hare Krishna. So anyone?
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Jai.
Thank you so much. I wanted to know, you talked about 12 years it takes to master one siddhi. I think that's what you meant. Is that correct?
Mataji, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm having a little trouble hearing. I don't know whether you can, and I'll try to kick up my volume here too, but I'm having trouble hearing. Okay, can you please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, it's much clearer. Yeah, I also can increase my volume here. Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned about 12 years, for one mystic power. Is that right?
Yes, that's what Anna Swami said. I'm just repeating what he said.
Okay, so that means 12 into 8 different mystic powers, 96 years.
That's 96 years if you want all of it, the 8 mystic powers.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know. We lived that long? I don't know, but you could just chant, and that's the shortcut going back to the spiritual world without mystic powers. But yeah, he says average of 12 years. In the Himalayas, there are people that teach that. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you for bringing that point up. Dev Mataji, I know you were going to say something. You can unmute yourself now.
Yes. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I apologize for earlier. I don't know what happened. I thought my microphone was muted. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
I do have a question. There are so many ways to leave your body, and if we have preparation, that's good, and it would be possibly easier to remember Krishna at the time of death. My question is, what would happen to a devotee who is a devotee, but say they have a heart attack and there is no time? I mean, they can't possibly fix their mind on Krishna. What happens to that devotee? Would they still be transported to the spiritual world? I mean, I would assume they would, but I don't know.
Very good question. I know Marigita and I have discussed this. It came up as a question. And Marigita, would you like to respond to that? I don't know where she may not be available. Okay, that's all. She's not in a meeting, so I'll answer it. But both of us agreed on it. When you're talking about sudden death, sudden death happening to the devotee.
Yes.
There's a lot of mercy built into this whole process, including remembering Krishna at the time of death. There's mercy from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is how it was explained. So a person who has been chanting regularly and serving, and the time comes for leaving the body, and it's a sudden situation. You mentioned heart attack, but it could be a car accident too. Anything can happen. We can be blindsided easily, and the death comes. Now, we remember Krishna, we go back to Krishna's abode. So what Lord Chaitanya does, favoring the person who has taken devotional service seriously, is just before that sudden death comes, he will force his image into the mind of that particular devotee. And that's it can be done instantaneously. We think easily, instantaneously. So a person who has taken spiritual life very, very seriously, chants, serves, is not an aparadi. If death comes in a sudden way, then the Lord actually helps the person. See, if the person is chanting, they're going to remember the name of the Lord. If you chant much more often, you tend to remember the name of the Lord. So, even if death comes suddenly, that the Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, helps the person to think of the Lord just before that. Therefore, they can go back to the spiritual world. So that provision is also made. Hare Krishna. So, a very good question.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions? So what it boils down to is do everything you can to remember the Lord. Some of us, I know there's a part of my God-given ability that's involved in music, and there's so many. Before I came to being a devotee, there was so much that I was listening to, that was we call calming music, and even playing some of it. So some of those tunes, they still come, the tunes. And of course, the words too, I still remember the words. But we changed the words and put the Hare Krishna mantra in place of the words. Then you can sing with the same tune. See, Prabhupada said, as long as you chanting Hare Krishna, any tune will do. As long as you call the name of the Lord. So that way you get the best of both worlds. Tune that you like, but you're also putting the Hare Krishna words in it. And the Hare Krishna words for a musician is very easy to put because it's so simple, and the syllables just fit in so nicely to a 16-beat arrangement easily. Even if you didn't understand what that meant in music, it's just you try to sing any regular song and then put Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just try it. You'd be surprised how many tunes you can sing the Hare Krishna mantra to, and they fit quite right. So that way you're thinking about the Lord all the time. And those kami songs they're not able to deviate our mind into things that are not Krishna conscious, because now we've turned and put the mantra with the tune, with the melody itself. You can't, if you can do that, you can try. Or just listen to the bhajans and kirtans that are there. Just make it a point to listen to that. Then we remember Krishna all the time. Any other comments? If not, then we'd like to thank you very much for coming for this particular morning, as many of you have been coming practically every morning. If you hearing constantly will help us to remember Krishna when the time comes to leave this body, and Krishna would welcome us back to the spiritual world, because he really wants to do that if we would just, make sure that the opportunity comes. We take the opportunity. He's provided the opportunity. We should take it. Vanchakapatrupischa kripa sunive evacha titanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Bless you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.